Hey everybody, Economic Ninja here. I've got a clip of a video that I want you to see of a interaction between Rand Paul and a transgender doctor. And I want to know in the comment section below what you think about it. Because in this day and age, these are facts, right? This is something that really happened, a conversation that happened. Two different sides of the story are being told, facts are being put out, and a narrative is being put out. And I want to know what you think about it. I think it's important to show truth, share truth, and share videos like this because in a day and age where there's a lot of craziness happening, it's happening right before our eyes, but because a lot of us are so sick with what we see in, let's say, the MSM, we don't see everything that's going on. So I want to show you guys this and get your take on all of this because I think it's a very, very important thing. I think our world is definitely shifting and I want to know what you think. And as people share these videos, I think it's important to get the narrative out, all right? The truth out. All right, guys, that being said, let's do this.
Genital mutilation has been nearly universally condemned. Genital mutilation has been condemned by the WHO, the United Nations Children's Fund, the United Nations Population Fund. According to the WHO, genital mutilation is recognized internationally as a violation of human rights. Genital mutilation is considered particularly egregious because, as the WHO notes, it is nearly always carried out on minors and is a violation of the rights of children. Most genital mutilation is not typically performed by force, but as WHO notes that by social convention, social norm, the social pressure to conform, to do what others do and have been doing, as well as the need to be accepted socially and the fear of being rejected by the community. American culture is now normalizing the idea that minors can be given hormones to prevent their biological development of their secondary sexual characteristics. Dr. Levine, you have supported both allowing minors to be given hormone blockers to prevent them from going through puberty, as well as surgical destruction of a minor's genitalia. Like surgical mutilation, hormonal interruption of puberty can permanently alter and prevent secondary sexual characteristics. The American College of Pediatricians reports that 80 to 95% of prepubertal children with gender dysphoria will experience resolution by late adolescence if not exposed to medical intervention and social affirmation. Dr. Levine, do you believe that minors are capable of making such a life-changing decision as changing one's sex?
Well, Senator, thank you for your interest in this question. Transgender medicine is a very complex and nuanced field with robust research and standards of care that have been developed. And if I am fortunate enough to be confirmed as the Assistant Secretary of Health, I would look forward to working with you and your office and coming to your office and discussing the particulars of the standards of care for transgender medicine.
The specific question was about minors. Let's be a little more specific since you evaded the question. Do you support the government intervening to override the parent's consent to give a child puberty blockers, cross-sex hormones, and/or amputation surgery of breasts and genitalia? You have said that you're willing to accelerate the protocols for street kids. I'm alarmed that poor kids with no parents who are homeless and distraught, you would just go through this and allow that to happen to a minor. I would hope that you would have compassion for Kira Bell, who's a 23-year-old girl who was confused with her identity. At 14, she read on the internet about something about transsexual. She thought, well, maybe that's what I am. She ended up getting these puberty blockers, cross-sex hormones. She had her breasts amputated. But here's what ultimately she says now. And this is a very insightful decision from someone who made a mistake but was led to believe this was a good thing by the medical community. I made a brash decision as a teenager, as a lot of teenagers do, trying to find confidence and happiness, except now the rest of my life will be negatively affected, she said, adding that the medicalized gender transitioning was a very temporary, superficial fix for a very complex identity issue. What I'm alarmed at is that you're not willing to say absolutely minors shouldn't be making decisions to amputate their breast or to amputate their genitalia. For most of our history, we believe that minors don't have full rights and the parents need to be involved. So I'm alarmed that you won't say with certainty that minors should not have the ability to make the decision to take hormones that will affect them for the rest of their life. Will you make a more firm decision on whether or not minors should be involved in these decisions?
Senator, transgender medicine is a very complex and nuanced field, and if confirmed to the position of Assistant Secretary of Health, I would certainly be pleased to come to your office and talk with you and your staff about the standards of care and the complexity of this field.
Let it go into the record that the witness refused to answer the question. The question is a very specific one. Should minors be making these momentous decisions? For most of the history of medicine, we wouldn't let you have a cut sewn up in the ER. But you're willing to let a minor take things that prevent their puberty, and you think they get that back? You give a woman testosterone enough that she grows a beard, you think she's going to go back looking like a woman when you stop the testosterone? You have permanently changed them. Infertility is another problem. None of these drugs have been approved for this. They're all being used off-label. I find it ironic that the left that went nuts over hydroxychloroquine being used possibly for COVID are not alarmed that these hormones are being used off-label. There's no long-term studies. We don't know what happens to them. We do know that there are dozens and dozens of people who've been through this who regret that this happened and a permanent change happened to them. And, you know, if you've ever been around children, 14-year-olds can't make this decision. In the gender dysphoria clinic in England, 10% of the kids are between the ages of 3 and 10. We should be outraged that someone's talking to a 3-year-old about changing their sex. I can't vote.
Thank you very much. Senator Paul.
Mr. Syed, when you submitted your nominating materials to the committee, you chose not to disclose that you had had PPP loans. That was found through our vetting of your candidacy, but it was not voluntarily given to us. Since then, we've asked for more information, and there's been some response, but there's been an incomplete response. One of the specific questions we have asked and not yet got an answer for is the amount in U.S. dollars of the estimated loss that was required for one of the forms for the COVID-19 economic injury disaster loan. What was the amount in U.S. dollars of estimated loss?
Senator Paul, thank you for your question. And let me first say at the outset, I appreciate the importance of sharing information that is necessary to confirm me, and it is important, especially with this role for this agency at this time. With all due respect, I would like to clarify that I filled the questionnaire, the Senate questionnaire, when asked about whether the company had received COVID relief. This was supplemental information I provided, yes. So I have been transparent, forthcoming, and sharing as various requests were made of me via those supplemental information that came in, and I think multiple occasions I did that. The questions that we received yesterday, many of them pertain to information. They pertain to information that is proprietary for the company. It's a private company. We are in a competitive environment, happen to be an AI company. It's a globally competitive environment. And we have to protect the company, even as I commit to you that when it comes to myself, I will continue to work with this committee to be transparent and forthcoming.
So let the record show that you won't answer the question then. You will not tell us the amount that you put on the application that you signed your name to for your company on how much U.S. dollars were estimated you were going to lose. The problem with that is you just say, oh, believe me, oh, yes, we were eligible, but that's self-policing. Give us the information so we can trust you. I'm willing to vote for you, but not if you stonewall us and say we're not going to give you the information. I mean, we deserve to know that because you're going to be in charge of these. You got $14 million. In the midst of this, the other question that really still boggles my mind is it is forbidden to be involved with expansion when you get these loans. And yet within 3 weeks of you getting your loan, we have you tweeting out about new hiring in Guadalajara and welcoming the expansion of your tech team in Guadalajara. So it sounds like you're in the midst of an expansion when you're getting the money.
Senator Paul, these are contractors. We are not expanding the company elsewhere in a full-time manner. All the systems we did for PVP and IDLE was used exclusively in the United States. It preserved jobs, 24 jobs. The company would not exist today, would not be in a place where it was able to raise financing and be able to innovate as we speak. So
11 days after you got the money, you tweeted out your words, "We welcome the newest member of our tech team in Guadalajara." most people would read that, and it sounds to them like you're expanding into Guadalajara, that you have new enterprises and new partners, or actually not even partners, newest member in Guadalajara. So the thing is, you're not going to tell us what you put down as far as your economic loss. You were in the middle of an expansion, but you're saying it was a contractor, not an expansion. What was your generating revenue? How much revenue did you generate? Did Limiata generate in 2020?
Senator, as I mentioned earlier, this is proprietary information. This is a public hearing. I'm not going to be able to share companies.
Right. So let the record know that we gave you these questions in writing. It's not as if you weren't prepared. You've made the decision not to divulge the information. And so, you know, you've made it hard on me. I mean, the thing is I supported the Democrat pick to be the administrator. I would support your pick, but I'm not going to support it if you are stonewalling us on the information. You applied for a large amount of money from a government entity. You didn't tell us about it. We found out about it by searching through the data, and then we asked you, then you admitted that you had the loan. But you did not volunteer that. We had to drag that out of you when you had evidence, or we had evidence that you had the loan. Now you won't tell us about how you got the loan, and then all of a sudden you pop up with $14 million for struggling restaurants around the country that might have gotten a PPP loan. They will scratch their head and say, some guy with $14 million in angel investors got a PPP loan. He couldn't have survived, and yet he got $14 million in loans. It doesn't pass the smell test. And if you're not going to give us information, how do you expect me to support your nomination?
Senator Paul, let me just reiterate this. I've been forthcoming with this information. I shared these loans at the very start of my vetting process with the SBA, with the Office of Government Ethics. That's part of the agreement. It was determined whether there was any conflict or not. So I have shared